Riddle for you folks. Who's got 2 thumbs and over the past 4 years made a combined salary of $100 million? Me and Bobby Kotick. When you factor out my contribution, it drops down to $100 million. Hey folks, this is Riker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include some of Activision Blizzard's shareholders saying that CEO Bobby Kotick makes too much money, the reveal of the remaster of 8-year-old RPG Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, the reveal of the new Path of Exile League, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the video description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. In our first story, a follow-up on the Command & Conquer Remastered Collection. The remaster released yesterday, and we also got earlier in the week a new video message from Kane himself. Looking as though he hasn't aged a day, now we know more than ever that Kane lives. Next, in a follow-up to last week's story about Phantasy Star Online 2. The game finally launched in North America last week, but lots of people just simply couldn't get it to run or even install properly. Well, some modders have released a utility that allows you to bypass the Microsoft launcher and actually play the game. It's called the PSO2 Tweaker, and I'll link it in the video description below. On to a story about Borderlands. In case you didn't know, a Borderlands movie is in production. And the new headline is that Cate Blanchett is now confirmed to be starring as Lilith, one of the original 4 main characters of the first game, who subsequently appeared as an NPC in the sequels. Now, the Borderlands movie is set to begin filming next year, and the mastermind behind this project is Eli Roth, who is mostly known for his work in the horror genre. For instance, 2005's graphic, gory horror Hostel, a film that left me feeling like a part of my soul had been destroyed and that I could never feel happiness again. The latest draft of the script was written by Craig Mazin, the creator of HBO's critically acclaimed Chernobyl series. And now with legendary actress Cate Blanchett attached, this project certainly has a number of very talented yet highly unexpected names attached to it. Some people are even questioning the choice to have Cate Blanchett, who is 51 years old, play Lilith, who is in her late 20s to early 30s. And while Cate Blanchett doesn't look anything close to 51, it led some to question why not pick an actress who is actually within the age range. Some theories are that the story may take place at a point when Lilith is maybe in her late 30s, early 40s. But I turn the question to you folks, what do you make of this Borderlands movie, and are you afraid that it's going to face the fate of so many video game films before it? That is, be terrible. Sound off in the comments. In another follow-up story, IGN's Summer of Gaming event, which was scheduled to start yesterday, has been postponed to June 8th. And according to their Twitter account, it is, quote, out of respect for and in support of those rightfully demanding justice and change. And it seems that other events and announcements are being delayed in response to the turmoil. For instance, rumors were heating up that the leaked Star Wars game, Star Wars Maverik, was going to be revealed this week, but allegedly that has also been postponed due to ongoing events. As per the rumors, Star Wars Project Maverik is said to be in development by EA Motive Montreal, and hopefully by this same time next week, we'll be able to talk about the game's official reveal. In other news, a remaster of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was leaked and then officially revealed. Titled Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, the remaster is said to have, quote, stunning visuals and refined gameplay. Now, this single-player RPG released in 2012, and on a personal note, it's a little bit weird for me to have a game that's only 8 years old being remastered. I wrote a review for Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning back on Gamefront.com where I worked. I mean, 8 years wasn't that long ago, right? Now, this game's history is almost as interesting as its lore. The game's universe and lore was created by R.A. Salvatore. Yes, the author who created everyone's favorite dark elf Drizzt. Then Todd McFarlane, famous for being the writer and artist for Spawn, did artwork on the game, And the executive designer was Ken Rolston, who was the lead designer on The Elder Scrolls 3 and 4. So we had these huge talents from different walks of life come together on this project, which was being developed by a studio founded by Major League Baseball pitcher Curt Schilling, who decided to start a game company because he wanted to make an MMORPG. In 2010, his company got a loan of $75 million from the state of Rhode Island. In 2012, the game released, and just a few short months later, the company declared bankruptcy and shut down. Then in 2018, THQ Nordic bought the rights to the franchise, and that's why we're getting a remaster now. And THQ Nordic is the same company that brought us the Darksiders remasters. On to some quick Torchlight 3 news. At the end of a stream last week, we were told to tune into the PC Gaming Show on June 6th, today, for a Torchlight 3 announcement. We're hours away now from finding out what it's going to be. Will it be a release date? Open beta announcement? We'll find out soon enough. In quick Grim Dawn news, a massive patch released, version 1.1.7, and it reportedly features the largest changelog that Grim Dawn's ever seen. Link to the patch notes in the video description. On to some Path of Exile news. The new League Harvest has been revealed. And to explain it briefly, it's a little bit of Factorio, a little bit of Stardew Valley, a little bit of Farmville, and the mechanic basically revolves around you finding seeds, you bring them to a specific zone, you plant them, you grow them into monsters, you kill the monsters, and then you harvest the monster's life force into special crafting materials. And it's apparently designed in such a way that it'll be really accessible to new players with a lot of room for error. Your plants aren't going to wither if you don't harvest them on time. You don't have to keep going back to your garden to grow the plants, you just have to plant them and then harvest them. And this is sounding like it's going to be a massive crafting league, as it's going to introduce over 250 different possible craft effects. In the video description, I will link the video, the reveal page, and the dev Q&A about Harvest League. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I love that GGG, the game's devs, keep trying all of these crazy, big, off-the-wall, unique ideas. I see this league as a little bit like Blight League. That was the tower defense league where some players liked it, some didn't, and it really came down to whether you enjoy the whole tower defense type of mechanic. So I imagine similarly some players just won't want to engage with this sort of type of harvesting mechanic, and others will take to it very strongly. But I do anticipate this league to be received better than Blight. On to some Activision Blizzard news. Now, Activision Blizzard typically has an annual shareholder meeting that happens in person. They've announced that this year it will be an online event, and it's slated to take place next week, June 11th. At this meeting, shareholders will get to vote on certain things, including, in short, how much money CEO Bobby Kotick can make. Now, a firm called CTW Investment Group, which represents a substantial portion of Activision Blizzard shareholders, is recommending that shareholders vote no to continue to compensate CEO Bobby Kotick at the same rates that he's been compensated the past couple of years. One of the mandates of CTW Investment Group is to hold directors accountable for, quote, irresponsible and unethical corporate behavior and excessive executive pay. Now, since 2016, Bobby Kotick has made roughly $100 million in combined stock options and equity, which, according to CTW, is, quote, consistently larger than the total pay of CEO peers at similar companies. And the firm went on to state that Activision Blizzard employees typically earn less than 1/3 of 1% of Kotick's earnings. So if we're following the math, that means that the average Activision Blizzard employee earns less than $83,000 per year. And this is a company based in California where living expenses are very high. The CTF director further states that Kotick's current compensation is of, quote, special concern, especially given that the company laid off 800 employees in early 2019 despite record earnings. You know, as opposed to, for instance, Nintendo's president and board of directors who accept pay cuts before they lay off staff. Now, in a statement to GameSpot, Activision Blizzard justified Kotick's salary. Quote, during Mr. Kotick's tenure, which is the longest of any CEO of a public technology company, Activision Blizzard's market capitalization has increased from less than $10 million to over $53 billion. And the message goes on to effectively state that over the past 20 years, Kotick has made shareholders lots and lots of money. And therefore it's justified that he makes a huge amount of money because he's led the company to make a huge amount of money and thus shareholders a huge amount of money. Then lastly, in Diablo news, for Diablo 3, a new PTR patch released addressing some of the issues that were specifically plaguing the new Demon Hunter set. These fixes put the new Demon Hunter set in a much better place now. It looks like the new set is performing at a reasonable level now, comparative to the other Demon Hunter sets at least. And I'm a little surprised that we didn't see a buff to the new Necromancer set, which is fun to play, but feels distinctly underpowered and will not be able to keep up with the other builds pushing the highest greater rifts. That said, patch notes of course are not final, and we did for instance see the new Crusader and Monk sets buffed significantly before their final release. In Diablo 2 news, we had a ladder reset yesterday. If you're looking to dive back into some Diablo 2, now's a great time to do it. And lastly, for Diablo 4, only because people keep asking about it, there is allegedly new Diablo 4 footage circulating the internet. It is not new footage. It is footage from BlizzCon 2019. It's the same demo, it's the same UI, it's the same old systems that have since been changed in updates we've gotten. It's not new footage, folks. But do remember that by the end of June, we can expect another quarterly update on Diablo 4. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed the cancellation of BlizzCon and what that means. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.